the message is becoming clear. And I handed you, I'm not going to teach a lot on this, but I just thought it was interesting because Lynn started drawing the menorah. And we don't communicate about the specifics about what we're going to talk about, but I felt like I needed to grab this graph for you that is in a book called Talking with Angels. And it was a group of 4 people that channeled back in the 40s with angels. And they communicated to them the human being's role in all of this. And the human being's role is to be the bridge. And if you look at this, where it's got this little picture of the menorah at the top, you can see that there's the mineral, the plant, and the animal kingdom. And then the middle kingdom is the human being. And then above that is the angel, the seraphs, and something called the seventh, which is perfection. And it's the human being's job, task, to bridge the gap between the created world and the creating world. And so that's what I want to talk just a little bit about. Let me read just this first part. At last, I grasp the place of the human being in creation. I discover a new balance in which fleeing into the spirit and disdaining matter are just as wrong as clinging to matter while denying the spirit. I realize how important and essential it is to fully affirm the life of the body as well as that of the spirit. And finally, I also discover my own dignity, the dignity of the individual human who is called to unite spirit and matter. Never have I so intensely felt that creation cannot be fulfilled without the participation of the human. I have the possibility and task of uniting matter and spirit in my body as in my soul. That's our task. It's to integrate these two things in union, in marriage, in oneness. And so I had a dream a few nights ago. It was before the conference started, and I was sitting at a banqueting table with my sister, and there were people all around, and I knew the person sitting to my right. How many of you know Robert Rutherford? Robert Rutherford is an amazing human being with such a unique call on his life. He's all tatted up. He's a gay man in a gay marriage with a family. How many kids does he have, biological kids? No, he's got 10, 12, 11 kids from his first marriage. Just biological, 2 adopted. And so anyway, and again, all tatted up. He's the one that at the conference in Leslie, I think he said the word shit, and they said we couldn't come back because he said that there.
Oh,
So you might be banned from
Barbara, I think that was someone else.
No, it was him. And so what he did was he took up a $10 bill and he crumpled it up and he spit on it. He threw it on the ground, he stomped on it, and basically said you can treat yourself like S-H-I-T and other people can treat you like shit. But at the end of the day, he picked it up and he unfolded it and said it's still a $10 bill. But anyway, he also sang a song called, he would get up to the piano and he has this repertoire of singing all these old gospel songs but with a different twist. And so he got up there and he started playing the piano just beautifully, and this is during intermission while everyone is mingling around and beginning to get their seats again. And he sings, he's got a tenth of the world in his hand. So anyway, he's really a forerunner, amazing man from a completely different vibration than where we are from. But anyway, I'm at this banqueting table and I'm looking at Robert, and he's again all tatted up, and I know his history, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Karen knows who this is. And I knew the guy across from me also, but I mean the banqueting table was just one of those brown, old, heavy folding tables that you can pick up. Nothing fancy about it. And I haven't cried for months, and I'm hoping I don't break my record. Because as an empath, I can get down into tears. But I had the realization at this banquet that we were the ones from the parable that were invited in from the highways and the byways. And if you're familiar with the parable, the groom says, send out the invitations, bid my people to come. And so he gets a response from the people and says, hey, we went out and we invited all these people in, but they were busy. You know, they had this to do, they had that to do, they had crops to bring in. And so the groom says, well, then send the information out to the highways and the byways so that my banquet hall is full. And I had the realization at that point that we had made it in, that we had made this cut, which kind of flies in the face of my all will be saved kind of thing, and I'm going to talk about that. But what came out of me in my sleep was this weeping for joy. And I mean, I was doing the ugly cry, you know, in my sleep. And I woke myself up crying, and I was like, oh, I've got tears in my eyes. But so I wanted to share that concept with you about the end of a cycle and making it through to this end of the cycle. I want to talk about this immersion that divinity, this journey that divinity is taking in us. I want to talk about how we were able to be so manipulated and controlled by fear and shame with the church. You know, what happened to us? Because there was a time when we had Plato and Aristotle and Socrates. We had these giants, these people. What happened to our consciousness? What happened to us that we got to this place of such depravity? And there's an answer to that, and that's what I want to teach you about. There's a scripture that says the creature was made subject to futility, not willingly, but by the one who subjected it in hope. And when I hear that scripture, and when I read it, what I see is baptism and communion, what we call baptism and communion. I see us being lowered into the waters of dense human consciousness and experience for a reason. I'm going to say that again. When I see the creature was made subject to futility, not willingly, but by the one who subjected it in hope, I see our human journey, and not just our lifespan, which is regulated to 120 years. Because each one of you, most of you, have cycled through many lifetimes. And you have accrued this valuable information that Lynn was talking about from the lower three kingdoms. Your experience is necessary. Your suffering is necessary. Your experiences are beautiful. I don't care what they are. There is no human suffering in vain. None. None. So I want to start by just briefly telling you, for those that are unaware of the story of Chris, my son, who is in this tragic, traumatic motorcycle accident, lost his arm at the scene. Later on at the hospital, they come to me saying, you know, his blood pressure is 50/20. We have to take his leg off. He's not going to make it. He's bleeding out. And this was the top trauma doctor, Dr. Red Duke, for those that are familiar with him. He just passed away. That was on duty that Sunday to take care of my son. Amazing. Y'all know, being from Houston, he is. And so the doctor's name was Dr. Rose, and I always pay attention to these little symbols that we get, because Rose is a very powerful symbol, and it's a symbol of the Christ. Came to me and said, he's in trouble, we need to take his leg, he's bleeding out. And so at that point in time, I didn't even ever doubt that he was not going to make it until then. And I kind of started going into a place of shock and hysteria internally. And so I'm in the emergency waiting room, and there's a saltwater aquarium in front of me, and there's people just crying, and you know, all sorts of horrible experiences on a Sunday in the top trauma center in Houston. And I'm standing there, and I'm kind of looking at the fish swimming around, and my mind went into this other state. And I felt my body get light, and I felt like I lifted up and off the floor for just maybe 1.5 inches. And I heard this. Well, let me preface it by saying I was internally hysterical, because I was wondering, okay, I could handle the arm. I could handle the arm coming off. But if his leg has to come off too, then he's missing the left half of his body. How is he going to be able to walk on a prosthetic leg? See how far ahead I was projecting out from the actual circumstance? I was projecting out months ahead, and I was wondering how he was going to walk if he didn't have an arm to grip a crutch. It was like, what is that going to look like? How is he going to function? How is he going to, and all of a sudden I felt this fuzzy kind of feeling, not like I was going to faint, but I felt fuzzy and I felt light, like I was standing on, like I wasn't on terra firma. And I heard this voice. And the voice said, Barbara, you must remember, he chose this, and so did you. And I thought to myself, he didn't. That's insane. But then, from the back of my head somewhere, I heard my own voice, way back here, and my voice said, I remember. And so now I'm sitting there thinking, I remember? What did I say? No, I didn't. I don't remember. And then the voice said, from before the foundation of this world, before you incarnated into flesh and blood, you said, and I make known to you the mysteries of this incarnation, and you said, yes, here I am, send me. And I thought, no, we don't make those types of choices. We can't. And again, it told me that you're not a human being, you're not thinking with the tree that discerns right from wrong, light from dark. All you see is purpose. And I was like, but why the suffering? Why do people, this is a horrible event that's happened to him. He'll suffer. He'll struggle. And then the voice said to me, there is no human suffering in vain. That all circumstances have value, precious, necessary. So that's a lot to take in when your son is still in surgery. So I didn't process all of that immediately. I was hysterical, I cried for days, I shook for days. And it was a very hard experience to go through. Much more for him. But anyway, I came to understand certain principles, and how it's interesting how books get put into your hands, how someone will send you something via email, someone will send you a DVD, and I got all of this fantastic information which helped me understand the journey of divinity as it comes and occupies, dances with you in this vibration. I begin to understand what happened. So, and I don't know that I've ever taught this. Spoke it out loud except to just a few friends. So the friends that I've shared this with, if I miss something, please help me. But from what I understand, and this is what astrophysicists are coming to understand now, that our sun is actually in a gravitational relationship with another star. And it's speculation because you can't see this gravitational cycle because it takes way too long. It takes 24,000 years to accomplish. And so when we've got these little lifetimes of, anywhere from, 1 to 120 years old, we can't see these great cycles of time. But now with the technology that we have, they can project and they say, oh yes, our sun moves, or our solar system, not our sun, moves in this great ellipsis, which produces a view of these, of the astrological chart. Okay, so we move through this great cycle. So here's our Earth, our sun, our Earth, and what they call now the 8 planets. And we're moving in this great path, in this, can everybody see? We're moving in this path that takes us around this circumference. And over here is this other star, this dual, this mate, this spouse, and the conjecture, the speculation is it's the star Sirius. And we have feminine energy and masculine energy that are doing this dance, this lover's dance. And you've heard as above, so below. So we express things in our physicality that mirrors something on a much grander scale. So we have this lover's dance of our solar system, our sun and our planets, moving around in this great cycle, and every now and then it intersects here. These two, shouldn't have worn this, these two intersect at this place right here where they do this incredible vibrational dance. And how many know, you know what this is? Go ahead and say it out loud. Vesica Pisces. This is where the Christian symbol comes from, but it actually comes far before that. Now, also, and I know this is, but this is physiology. What else does that look like? Like the yoni. The yoni. The legs open wide, and it's the birth portal. And it's the place, people call it the cosmic vagina, okay, sorry. But this is the place where seeding occurs. Seed is deposited in here. But what else happens from that point? Now Daryl's got to move around to see it now that I said So this is the place where seed goes in and something comes out. And so in this cycle, when these two, when this is over here and this is over here, I'm just going to draw them real quick here. This is the place of copulation with these energies, and they produce a being that is very, very far advanced. This energy is what supplies our spiritual man. This energy is what supplies our biological man. So when we are so close and we are in this Vesica Pisces period, there is copulation that takes place and something shoots out of that portal, and this is the God man that now comes out of the portal. And this is called the Golden Age.
Great year.
And this whole cycle is right, Terry, it's called the Great Year. It takes 24,000 years to complete. So when this consciousness begins this journey, it begins a journey that is being immersed, baptized, swallowed up into a place of mortality. But you don't get to the place of the Dark Ages, which is over here, where lifespan is only 23 years long. There's no intuitive functioning over here because we are so far apart at that point in our dance from the lover. So this is a golden age. We're immortal at this point. We don't die. We live forever. But what happens is the creature was made subject to futility. Not willingly, but by the one who subjected it in hope and wanted to experience all things light and dark. So what happens then is we go from this golden age over here to the silver age. And lifelines, guess what, are beginning to decrease. Consciousness is beginning to be lowered into futility. And so here's silver, here's bronze, and here's iron. That was our Dark Ages.
Do you think we were in the golden age, or however this come about, when we were not willing, trained not willing?
Well, it's something that the human part of us, the physical, biological part of us did not choose. The part of us that's divine said, let's go.
All right, but something talked us into it.
Well, maybe it was the agreement that chose this.
Because I found a story of it, it just seems like it's where Naaman had leprosy, and so Elisha told him, go dip yourself 7 times. He said, "What? How stupid is this?" And so his officer said, "You don't fast something hard, Just go do it.
You know what the 7 times are? Seriously? We actually go through this cycle 6 times. We incarnate, we go through cycles of 6 24,000-year cycles. 6 times 24,000 is what?
A lot.
Seriously, can someone do the
144.
math? 6 times 24,000 is what? It's 144,000. So go dip yourself in the water 7 times. This is what it is. On the 7th time, you rest. And it's the place of completion and perfection of the God-man who has had his senses fully exercised in the place of duality, of suffering. We learn by the things that we suffer. It is said of the Christ that he learned obedience through the things that he suffered. We are learning. We are here to have a palette full of color and experiences, because everything we experience, good, bad, ugly, has a vibration that gets stored within our body and is released as an offering to all that is in those upper kingdoms. Okay? So here we are, golden, silver, bronze, iron, and at this point, this is the place that I believe is the place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. Remember when the door gets closed and someone gets shut out? Consciousness that may not be ready, that may not be perfected, like the dragnet is pulled up and there are fish that are putrid and they go into the place of weeping and gnashing of teeth, they are coming for another cycle. Not that they're bad or wrong, they're just not done being cooked yet. It's like a premature baby. They can't make it in some cases. So here's the golden age, the silver, the bronze, and as we are going through this devolution, we experience a dumbing down. That's how Plato and Aristotle and Socrates can exist over here, but here we're being manipulated and controlled by church systems out of fear. Because consciousness is far away from the lover, from the one that has the influence on your spiritual essence and your spiritual chemistry. So all that is being lowered into futility right along with us, and we're dancing this dance in our mortal, flesh, carnal selves until the place of awakening, which is where we are. We are actually still in the Bronze Age. No, it's not. That's okay. It's not a bad thing, because this is what I think happens. Remember the scripture that says, had times not been cut short. I believe that times are being cut short, and if you remember what Lyle said the other day about that logarithmic progression, when consciousness reaches a place of a tipping point, all of a sudden it dramatically changes, it shifts direction. I think what we have right here, and this is silver and then gold. How many of you are familiar with the alchemic process of turning base metal into gold?
I wish I
Had times not been cut short. Had times not been cut short. I believe that we're having the opportunity in consciousness, and I believe that we're in the 6th day of this 24,000-year cycle, that we have the opportunity to turn base metal into gold. Oh. You know, there are times when a woman is fully gestated, but it's not 9 months. There are times when it's just time to drop the baby. And so what I feel happens in this great cycle of time, again, 24,000 years, is that all that is lowers itself into our vibration and has this wonderful experience of being human with us. Not for nothing, but to accrue offerings of valuable human experiences for the purposes of cultivating energy from your chakras. Because energy from your chakras is highly creative. And when the helpmate is able to focus your thought coupled with that currency, you create reality. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so here we are banging it out. And we go through multiple lifetimes in all different settings. That's why some of you feel really attached to some things that happen here and, you know, whatever. It's because we experience as much as we can. Most of the time we leave this earth plane and we say, when can I go back? And we come and we begin to accrue all of this valuable currency for the purposes of transitioning into the age to come, which is upon us, to be at the point of being a conscious co-creator of realities. God in you, Christ in you, the hope of glory, the hope of glorification, of filling the universe, the multiverse, with stuff, with matter, with material, with things that don't rot, rust, mildew, decay, disintegrate. Because right now we have a time limit. When we are immersed into this cycle, there's a time limit to our creations and a time limit to our lifespans, and it varies. And that's where we are. Does that help you understand a little bit of the cycle of things that happen, why we got to that place where we were so easily manipulated and controlled? It's because we're at the farthest point. When we're in the Iron Age, we're at the farthest point from our dual. And so this is, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's kind of connected. You know how there's just silver and gold everywhere? Everybody's selling silver and gold. Would you see that as a sign, a transition sign?
Precious.
Well, iron being the base metal, like the least valuable, it's sort of a picture of our consciousness in that area.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So we're having an incredible time and opportunity right now to accelerate things in consciousness. Whether or not alchemy will happen, I don't know. I just feel I know where we are and I know where we're going.
On the other hand, iron is used as the basis of magnetic attraction and separation. So what might appear to be very precious to us now, we might find the opposite of that coming into more better focus, so we better understand the position of iron in our system that we currently operate in.
I agree.
Let me make a comment about that. If you've never read Walter Cruton's book, you need to read it. It explains this extremely well. The Golden Age is the longest age of any of the four periods. The book of Daniel is based off this chart, the movement of the astrological signs. I was talking to a couple a minute ago, showing them how that Jesus, and of course if you move back into that period of time, or biblical times, you're going to move back into the Iron Age. So what we have in our thinking is we have an idea that somehow or another, even if you shorten the lifespan, they were all dumb, they were ignorant, they were cave people, they lived in, it's not true. The part of awakening is to tap into the energy that existed in the Golden Age and then be that energy in the Iron Age. So if you think that you've got to wait another 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12,000 years to reach that point so that you can be what the Golden Age offers, you miss the concept. The concept is what is in the Golden Age is for you in every age. You have to awaken to that energy. That's exactly why she draws from the Bronze Age an arrow. What happens at that point, like Lyle said, when you reach that place, you awaken. You move across the universe. You tap that energy. So it doesn't matter where you're at in the cycle. Where you are in the cycle, your focus is to draw the energy from that awakened consciousness, which is what the Divisible Pisces.
What was the last name, Walter what?
Cruttendale,
Walter Crutten.
C-R-U-T-T-E-N-D-E-N.
Walter Crutten.
C-R-U-T-T-E-N.
I'm sorry, I can't. The
E-N.
name of the book is.
T-E-N, it's called The Great Year.
The Great
Oh, The
Year.
Lost Star.
Yeah, the Lost Star. The Lost Star. It's about Cyrus.
It's about the Great Year.
And Isaiah talks about Cyrus, and it's the same Cyrus. But you know, some people spell it with a C, some with an S, so it's the same thing. But the key is the awakening, and this is what's happening. You know, you can awaken. Do you not think that there were people awake in the Iron Age back in Jesus' time or back in Moses' time? Absolutely.
Enoch.
Yeah, come on. I mean, so don't get lost in the movement of saying, "Oh, I have to wait. Hell, I'm gonna be done the rest of my life."
See, that's alchemy.
So hence the saying born again.
but it's
Yeah.
alchemy, and these things are available to us now. That's when you hear people talk about the now. It actually, in our physicality, where we are, we're in time and space. Time and space serves us. It serves us as a place, as a terrarium, to function, to learn how to discern through our suffering, how to accrue valuable energetic currency into our kingdoms so that we can transmute that into something that's lovely. So, but just, I wanted to bring this to light, but also, heck, you know, if we really understand as above, so below, then we're gonna find out that not only is there this, but there's that. You see that? And what does the atom look like? John, how many circles are in an atom?
Oh, I don't know, it depends on the element.
Basic, it's 3. Basic is 3, so we're gonna find out that, oh, and now, since this information has come out about a binary system, a binary possibility, now, just in the last 15, 20 years, they're discovering that most of the stars are in a binary relationship, and many, 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 vast percentage of those binaries are also in trinaries, and more. They're in a relationship with one another to accomplish a specific task.
To mention the born again experience, the serpent or snake is the symbol of being born again. The reason it's used as a symbol, all the ancient mythologies knew that. They understood the symbol of being born again as the snake, because every year the snake becomes new again. Have you ever seen his shell he crawled out of? He was born again. And so the very thing that you thought was your enemy was the symbol trying to show you of your reality that you experienced.
Wow. And so when I struggle to, and I talk about these things in the book, and that's why I think sometimes when you hear them for the first time, there's many people that contact me and say, okay, I'm on my 4th time. Because we are breaking the way into a consciousness that is now available to us, has been available, but I think for more, on a grander scale, this information is available to us on a grander scale. But so I have this information in there, and I struggle how to bring adequate words to, well, let me just say this. You know, you see the jewelry out there. That was only done in the last 6-8 weeks. That's my form of meditation, and if you notice, most of it is the spiral, which is the yellow brick road. And so this spiral, this thing that I keep on seeing, I had to take time and get still, and that's my form of meditation, to bend metal and to make things, and I see these spirals, and I know that something is happening in consciousness, and I'm distilling the information that is incoming when I'm still, and it's coming out as best as I can. I'm distilling it in the language that I have available to me, to this limited, high school education. I struggle sometimes to bring the concepts forward, but the process of distillation is actually what's happening. So when you need to find that place of meditation. For me, I cannot sit still long enough. My husband says I have a spring in my butt. I sit down and I get up. I sit down and I get up. But if I do jewelry or any kind of art, I can sit for hours, and all that I'm thinking about is what's in front of me. And what happens is the train of Barbara's consciousness slows down enough so that whatever's on the platform can hop on. So this information is coming to us in many different forms. So whatever way you can find stillness or creativity, do that. Because God, all that is speaking through art, and it's coming into us in the form of vibration. It's being distilled in the way that you can distill it, and it's being offered to the masses in the way that it can be palated or understood. So all that to say, and you saw me do it with the coins the other day when I just spread them out from my body, you know, all of our experience that we're gathering up in the kingdoms, these lower three kingdoms, the lower three kingdoms, this is what creates the material world. That's the mineral, plant, and animal. That's what creates the material world. So, you know, the vastness of what's out in our universe, and now the speculation that there's multiple and parallel universes out there, do you get an idea of how small we are here and yet how unique we are? This is the place of learning. We are learning because we feel pain and we feel joy. And through that pain and that joy, we are learning to accrue valuable emotional experiences. What we don't understand, and we're beginning to understand, is that our emotions create at a quantum level. When we emote something, when we feel something, we are sending out a signal from our body, and it is making a request of all that is for whatever vibration it is that we are emitting. So if we are focusing from here and below, and we are having a painful experience, and we are in judgment of it, not having learned yet to separate ourselves from the person or the circumstance that is bringing pain, and when we emote, we are sending out a signal to the universe, and the universe is saying, there she goes again. She hasn't learned yet. Give her what she asked for, exactly what she asked for, in the frequency that she asked for it, because she is I am. Awake, unawake, sleeping, still. So when you awaken and you understand that you are a creator of realities, that's the beginning point. That's the place where you're getting ready to walk the stage of graduation, because you're understanding now the principles and mechanics of creation. And that you have been in your body for all of these cycles, and you've been learning this process. You have been learning to accrue this valuable offering of your experiences. But you have to dismiss the judgment from the circumstances if you are going to have a bank account that does not have liens on your currency. That just came to me. That's pretty good. So when you've got a lien on it, someone else has rights to that currency, right?
Wow.
Rights to that property.
Wow.
So when you dismiss judgment, then what you have are no liens on your currency. Otherwise, you've got these cords, and you're continuing to create everything that has brought you pain, disillusionment, despair, all of those lower things, which, when you dismiss the idea and the attachments, the idea that this is evil, when you dismiss that, all you've got left is really powerful, potent energy that can go forth and create solar systems, stars, planets. You know what? Let me tell you something. This has been said to me many, many times, and I never really understood it until just now. And I'm going to say it over you. Your vision has been way too small. Edie, your vision has been way too small. Jack, your vision has been way too small. Y'all, your vision has been way too small. You think you're a human being out here getting your feelings hurt or being cheated on or having to go through a divorce or experience the death of a child, and you're going through all of these things. It's not about that. It's time to come up here. There's many things that I want to tell you about. Your vision has been way, 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 way too small. You've been in restriction. And I'm telling you what, that restrictive force is what Satan is. It's not a being. It is the force that efficiently holds energy bound in matter. Can I say that again?
Yes.
Satan
Yes.
is not a being. We anthropomorphize Jesus. We anthropomorphize Satan. We give them human attributes. It is just a principle of contraction that keeps energy efficiently held in matter. That's all it is. It's a principle.
Discouragement.
It's a principle. It's not a being. It's a principle of contraction that holds energy efficiently bound in matter. And it's the adversary, the opponent of spirit.
And it's necessary, contraction's necessary.
Absolutely. It serves all that is. That's why, you know, it talks about Job and Satan going and standing before Job. The word stand means stasis. Homeostasis is what's happening to me right now. Because if I didn't have the process of, how many of you are nurses or have a nursing background? If you don't have homeostasis, all of the blood in my body is going to rush to my feet. But I have homeostasis, so when I stand up from a sitting position, the blood vessels in my body, the arteries, whatever, contract. And they make it so I have blood up here so I don't pass out. These are subconscious, what's the word? Autonomic systems. And guess who's in charge of those autonomic systems? Who's in charge of gravity? Or what is in charge of gravity? What is in charge of our physics laws? What's in charge of all this but the God of this world? It's the principle of energy that can hold energy sufficiently bound in matter. That's the great adversary, but helpmate of the Spirit.
Yes.
And it's here for you. This is your classroom. This is what you signed up for. Energy beings from all over the multiverse said, I want to be human. I want to experience it. I want to know what it's like to be in a body. I want to know what it's like to feel pain, to feel joy. I want to know what it's like. I want to. Beings from all over the multiverse petition for the right, the honor, the opportunity to be here right now in this time. So if you wonder if you're out of this world, or you look at your wife and you think she's a little crazy, well, she's not from this vibration, and neither are you. Now, your biological DNA may say you're from here, but the energy that animates your body is not. You are here learning. You are here learning how to be human, and you are learning how to be divine. You are learning how to mingle the two in marriage, and you are producing what is called Christ. Not a being, a verb. It's a powerful story. Your vision has been way too small. You need to blow the doors off of how you think, and you need to expand. And that is easy. Do it with vibration, focusing on things that are joyful, lovely, have a good report, higher energy things. All of these other things that restrict your consciousness organically drop off of you. If I, by the finger of God, cast out demons, then surely you know that next dimension is at hand. With ease, drop off things that have restricted your consciousness in this way, that way, and the other way. If you raise your own energy and your frequency, these things organically drop off. And they actually get changed their form and they go into another dimension where they're used in some other capacity because energy never goes away, it only changes form. Okay. We've got 20 minutes for questions.
Would you repeat what you said last night, the scripture in Hebrews where Paul was saying he would like to tell them?
Again, this is important. Paul said, you know, I really want to teach you about these things, but I can't because you're babes. You are drinking milk. Meat is reserved for those who are of full age. I want to teach you about the power of an immortal life. I want to teach you about the Melchizedek order, which is you at another place in vibration that does not die, that is not bound so sufficiently, efficiently in matter. The part of you that's fluid. I want to talk to you about immortality, but I can't because you've been drinking milk. If you want meat, you have to exercise it. You have to chew, you have to digest. You know, meat is reserved for those who are of full age, having had their senses exercised to discern what? Both things, light and dark, the full spectrum. You cannot go on to perfection. Basically, Paul says, I long to share these things with you, but I can't because you're babes. Meat is reserved for those who are of full age, having had their senses exercised to discern light from dark, positive from negative, good from evil, however you want to term it. Therefore, leaving these elementary principles behind, let us go on to perfection. Leaving these things behind, let's go on to perfection. Goes on and it says, for it is impossible to renew one to repentance once they have tasted of the heavenly gift, the good word of God, the powers of the age to come. And two more things that I don't remember. That's our inheritance as beings that are transitioning in consciousness, that are moving, continually evolving. That's our place and our position. So I'm going to leave you with this. Your vision has been way too small. Lift your eyes and see. Yes, ma'am.
On the note of our vision being enlarged, a short word that was given to me not long ago was, weave into your mind, dwell upon the unlimited possibilities.
That's good. That's good. Okay, we've got a short time for Q&A. If there's any Q&As, if there's any Qs, there may be some As.
Go first, because I'm still processing.
Lynn, Gary? Well, I guess we can just stay sitting.
Yeah.
I was wondering, and you got into this because I was going to ask about that 24,000 year cycle and all that, but how does this tie into the ancient civilizations where they, the Lemurians, people like that done all these things in the
From
past?
another 24,000 year cycle. That's why they knew that if they built structures hewn from stone, when we would go through this alchemic cleansing process here, that everything that is hewn from wood, hay, stubble, goes through this purification process and the earth is reseeded and it starts again. But some of these structures from this passing age make it through that time of purification. And test that with your own guidance and
Well,
ask.
that's what I was thinking, it was from different cycles.
Right. That's why things can be, from the Emerald Temple is 36,000 years old, they come from another dispensation. And these cycles don't all look the same. They don't proceed exactly the same every time.
And also, this will be the last one, with all the energy that's floating around, the energy that comes off the sun's really controlling most of the weather, earthquakes and all that here on the earth. So you've got all these waves going around. There are particles and waves going throughout the universe that's actually controlling everything that we do. And that all ties into here somehow. And I'm trying to picture it in my brain, I still haven't quite seen how all that ties together. Because all that stuff is going around.
When you do, you'll get a session to teach. So be careful what you say. Another thing I want to say really quick is that in a lot of our, like in a lot of the books that you read, they say that this cycle is actually 25,693 years long. That's not accurate. Because what happens is we take this small little piece of time and we multiply it and think that, okay, for some reason it's 25,693 years. But what
speeds up
happens,
then.
that's exactly what happens. As these two begin their dance, when they're at this farthest point, it goes like this.
Yes.
You see that? I'm not doing it really well, but they
I-
speed up.
I felt like that was direct correlation with the chart about the 10% and then
Right.
it goes like this.
Right.
Accelerated.
It is, there's an acceleration. Go ahead.
Okay. Woo! Breathe. Okay, first I'll feel led to share this part. Last night when the session started, I kept hearing in my spirit, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. And this whole theme, like this whole week, actually even on Friday night when I was getting ready, I just felt like the preparation of the bride. And it's been the theme of the whole weekend, and I didn't even think I bought this out for a wedding earlier this year and put it on today, and then, where are you? This song she had playing, it's all about a wedding. I mean, I'm intoxicated with my lover. So it's just so beautiful, and the highways and the byways, like I'm experiencing that. And in I was wrestling all weekend, and then now it's just culminated, and I know everybody's got different perceptions and experiences, but I'm like, you are a thief in the night. My Jesus is just all over the place, sitting quiet, while everybody's out there fighting over doctrines and this and that, he's just sitting and he's just, that living water's going to every single political, religious, whatever. So I just had to share that, 'cause that's
That's
just
very
powerful
cool.
to me. Just really quick, you were talking about the judgments and the courts. I've been experiencing some personal things, and I had a question. I feel like I let go, like I think I've done what I've needed to do to kind of cut some of that. But I guess my question is, what if they haven't consciously done it?
Doesn't matter.
Can it still? Because I'm
It
just,
doesn't matter. We're responsible for our own self, and when they still retain judgment against us, it's their path, it's their school.
okay.
When you move, see, it's like we become Teflon. When we enter into that place of non-judgment, remember when Jesus said something like, the God of this world has no handle in me? Something like that? We're Teflon. Nothing, the vibration of pain and hurt and all these lower things are incongruent with an ascending frequency of joy and love and appreciation and non-judgment. It can't attach, it's impossible.
Unless, so then if it is, it's probably something that I
Right.
still haven't worked out.
Then you're working,
Right,
yeah, you
okay.
gotta work through some of that. But you know, you can just, appreciation is a very high frequency. You know, I can, and it takes practice, because it's like when Avis was talking about riding that bike, you revert back to the old way of doing things. It takes practice, and when we are engaged in a highly volatile emotional situation, it takes practice to continue to focus on things and appreciate the struggle. You know, you see these devastating pictures on the news and hear all these horrific stories, but you know what? Like you heard me say, there's 7.3 billion people that can be human. You're called to be a bridge. You're called to something different. You're called to be something that is not necessarily human. You are called to something divine. You are called to the Melchizedek order to show and to display something within your vibrational makeup that will provide a means of escape, of traverse, of travel for others to follow. You create a vibrational vortex behind you when you begin to walk in peace and love and non-judgment and appreciation. And it's attractive to other energy.
Yes. And she said something about cutting things. Sometimes we want to cut away from things and it's premature. That's why we keep going. When we learn to embrace, you've got to learn to embrace it without the judgment, without that, recognizing it for what it is there to serve you for.
And it does serve you.
And then it's lifted up and it's changed to
The
what
people
you
that
need.
hurt us the most and that bring us our most pain are our most valuable teachers.
Yeah, the 7 billion, I feel like that's some significance now. Do you think perhaps that all the souls there are want to be in human form for this change?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I believe the earth is very special. I don't think there's another place like it. Now, there may be someday, or at some level of consciousness, but I don't even know how to explain it. I think it's very special. And I like the word virgin in all of our cultural stories, born of a virgin. To me, that speaks that there is not another place ever that has been penetrated by the divine into the material world. That all that is found a way to do it here, and did it through our evolutionary cycle all the way up through, the different periods of learning to stand, learning to, whatever, all through the evolutionary cycle. And when the cycle was complete, when Neanderthal stood there, I believe that divinity said, we've got the mechanism. It's ready. It has 10 fingers, 10 toes. It has the capability of doing X, Y, and Z. Let's penetrate here. And so what happened is divinity penetrated that line, and all of a sudden we had Homo erectus, and we're missing a link, or we think we're missing a link, but we're not, because there was nothing there. Divinity penetrated biology and caused a quantum leap in consciousness, and now we had a being that was inspired. It wasn't just biology, it wasn't just instinctual. Now it's a being that has been impregnated with that little itty bitty tiny spark. which grows and gestates and goes through these many cycles over and over again until she comes to full term and she's birthed. And that birth is what goes on. If you look at a piano, there are 5 black keys and 8 white keys, 13 keys altogether. One is a C, a bass C, and then a repeating C. These are all tones in our octave, different dimensions that we can have different experiences in each one of the dimensions. You heard me say that we're going on to the 5th. A Melchizedek priest is one that's been through all 12. And once he gets to the 12th and he's at the 13th, he has the opportunity, whether he reinserts back in space and time or whether he goes on to the next set of experiences. I don't know why I said that. But so just suffice it to state that your vision has been way too small. And the information that I have, that I speak of, that Lynn speaks of, it's in you. You can remember. Remember in the movie The Abyss?
Yes.
Where he's forced to breathe in this red fluid so that he can go to the depths. And they said to him, he's going through the process of drowning because he's got to inhale this fluid so that his bodies won't collapse under the pressure of such depths. And they say to him, you did it for 9 months, you will remember how to do it.
Wow.
We will remember these things because you've been through it already. How many times? It's there in your consciousness. It's there in your DNA. It's not junk. That's filled with valuable information. And all any of you need to do is ask, seek, knock. And the information that is for your journey, not Lynn's, not mine's, not Annie's, or anybody else's, the information that's expedient for you will appear. That's the saying, when the teacher is ready, the student appears.
Do we have the option to collapse the time frame from the Bronx to the Golden Age?
Absolutely. I don't know how it's done, but I know that it's there. That's what alchemy is. So it's a
Time is
principle.
coming and now
I want to
is.
make a point that when I was driving in my trash truck Friday, we haven't had rain in 6 months. So when you drive the pavement, all we have had is heat. So therefore, the crystals, the oil, the Mashiach, the oils off the tires gets burned into the pavement. For 6 months, I had no trouble with traction. Then the rain comes. What's the rain do? The rain reveals the crystals. The rain has brought all of the pain, all the things that was necessary to have the oil smeared, because in the Greek, Christos means to smear the oil into. We're not just having oil, it's been smeared into us, and this rain is revealing the oil that we need for the shift. And when I turned the corner, my trash truck went sideways, which told me that there are many people, because of this cycle, even though they don't even know what's going on, are going to shift into this thing because the oil has been revealed because of the rain.
Hallelujah.
That's the 10%. You take what you learn, you go home and you pollinate yourself over and over and over again. It's the time of Deborah, the time of the bee. You pollinate, and you produce crops. And so you take what you have and you begin to pollinate others. And pretty soon that tithe, that 10%, grows to 20 and 30 and 40 and 50. And it works. And you know why it works? Because love never, ever, ever fails. Yes.
But to go along with what Ray said, how do we, Jesus told the woman at the well, the time is coming and now is. So both concepts are always in play.
Yeah.
There's more that see the now.
And I love that you said that, Daryl, because the woman at the well, remember the one at the well, the woman at the well who said something like, Jesus said to her, you've been married 5 other times and the woman you are with now, or the man that you're with now is not your husband. Go and sin no more. That's the 6 cycles. 5 and 1 is 6. That's the 6 cycles of the woman that have gone around, and we have joined ourselves to another lover for the purposes of growth. And Jesus announced at that time that this is the end. Go and sin no more. Sin is the atmosphere that is created when you live according to the ego. Everything that you create from here down is mortal and temporal, and he's telling us to go and sin no more. Isn't that powerful?
Yes.
I just want to throw a couple things out that I'm looking for answers for, and maybe others may also. Okay, one is a dream that I had some time back. I married a man named Levi, and I remember Levi being talked about, and you're talking about the order of the house. Yes. And we were sitting on a couch, and I could just feel him next to me, and I remember he was on the left side of me, I held his hand, and he anointed my hand with oil.
That's beautiful.
So I'm just throwing it out there.
She wants to be beautiful.
Why?
Well, in the Song of Solomon, and we've got to wrap up here in just a few minutes. In the Song of Solomon, chapter 4 or 5, I believe, they get shut into the wedding chamber, and they consummate their relationship. And it says that she rises up to open to her beloved. He went out into the garden and gathered up all these spices, and he knocks on the door. And she rises up and says, where is my beloved? And she goes to the door, but her beloved has withdrawn himself. And this speaks of some of the cycling that we go through. But when she went to go put her hand on the lock of the door, and all of this is so highly symbolic, it says suddenly that, and my hands dripped with myrrh, which is the symbol of our very human and mortal experiences necessary to approve for where we're going in this age that we are in. So, it's very cool symbolism. Good stuff?
Yes.
Terry?
Let me ask you, does anyone in here experience, so I'll know that I'm not nuts, completely nuts. Anybody have what has been defined as tone? Do you have anything that comes from the middle of your head that feels like, you ever been standing by
Raise your
electricity?
hands and show Terry's support.
Have you ever heard electricity? And how you think it sounds if you're close to a pole? I have that all the time, and when you just told Lynn about it's too small to write, that same tone went into 2 different tones.
Yeah.
It was double. It was 2 frequencies, like if you were playing 2 notes on a piano, but it's all here, but it's not hearing. It has nothing to do with my hearing. In fact, I'm talking loud right now from it, but
Hearing tones is very common. It's a very common manifestation for the advancing age. It is, we are going from being mortal to transitioning in our form, and one of the things that accompanies it is these frequencies and these tones. So it's not at all unusual. Not at all. I've got one more handout that I want to give you, and then that'll be it. I just don't want to waste my paper. This will add to what I said about Satan being anthropomorphized, and it's not what we think it is. For anyone who has not read Ken Carey's The Third Millennium, a very powerful book, I would encourage you to get it. You can get it on Amazon. But this little handout that I only touched on talks about the principle that Satan is, that holds energy efficiently bound in matter. The whole chapter 4 is about the transmutation of error, which is about who and what this force is. I think you'll really enjoy it. So did you want to say anything in closing?